Hi, welcome to Tinsel Tales with Tarot. If you are interested in figuring out how I put all of this story I'm about to tell you together, check out the video directly beneath this one. I just show you the cards. I have my whole page here. We made this all up together. So if you're interested, check that out. If not, I just wanted to say yes, hi, I'm Lizzie. Welcome to my channel. I normally do tarot readings. This is just something fun for the holiday. I did decorate a little bit. I tried, but I was too lazy to move my shelf. So I promise next time that will be right. I just don't have time today. I know it's annoying me. All Virgos, I apologize. Let me cover it up for you. And I did my board. Still no tree. I don't know if I'm doing one. Maybe. Alright, so I'm going to pause it for a second and I'm going to get into the story. But yes, you are on the right channel. I am Lizzie. This is normally tarot. If you don't want to hear a story, go on to the other tarot readings. It's just for Christmas. We're calling them Tinsel Tales with Tarot. If you do like it, I will do one a week until Christmas. So be sure to look for other ones. Let me know which ones you're liking because I am making these up at the top of my head. So let me know by liking below, commenting, add on to the story below, ask me questions, whatever you wish. I love you all. What else was I going to say? I'll wait till Christmas gets a little closer to announce that. But I just again want to say thank you to all my subscribers and all my supporters and all your sweet love and support. And I just love you guys. You're amazing. And I hope you like this story. Toodles for now. From this version of me. Anyway, I'm going to be in character next time you see me. Hi, my name is Noelle. I'm the third Noelle to exist, technically. So I am Noelle, number 3. This is the log of my very first case I ever did on Earth as an angel. And one day, this will all make sense to you when you are beyond your training level in Angel Academy. I sat where you are all sitting once. I was just as nervous as you. I had a case in front of me that I thought I never would accomplish. And I'm sure you're all feeling that way about your cases too. How are you going to pull this off by Christmas Day? Don't worry. We all feel that. Take a deep breath and know it will happen for you because that's the miracle of Christmas. All you have to do is keep trying. So if your name is Noelle and you are Noelle number 4, I'm looking to you to be the top of your class and keep this tradition going. In the meantime, I am talking about the Monroe Trump case. Yes, the very, very famous case of Maya Monroe and Dickie Trump, a legend in the angel world. I'm sure you all read about it in your classes coming up in angel school. And it is a great honor that I get to dictate this story to you in person. Usually, you have some professor telling you my version of it that was written in the log. And it's very manuscript and very boring. Lucky for you, I had a little extra time this holiday to swoop in and give my fellow newbie elves a little boost in holiday cheer. And we're going to flash back to the case everybody thought was impossible. Even Father Christmas doubted that these two could turn it around by Christmas Day. But by golly, it all happened. And yours will happen too. But let me go back to the beginning. When you have to forgive me, it has been a few centuries since I was a newbie angel. So getting back to where I was, I gotta jog my memory a little bit. But let's start the story someplace interesting. I don't want to bore you too much. You do have long lectures coming up with your finals. So, let's jump to the meat of the story, shall we? let's talk a little bit about Dickie. Now, Dickie's a legend. We all know who he is. You grew up watching him tell all the most fascinating news stories, the war stories, the scary, mysterious disease that keeps infecting plants. Now we're not growing flour. Anything that was going on in the world that you need to know about, this man's face was the one telling you. You trusted him, you knew him, he was like family to you. Everybody loved them some Dickie. You can laugh all that out. Just because we're Christmas angels doesn't mean you can't have a sense of humor. You're going to need it in your cases. Anyway, so Dickie in this era, when we came into play, or when we were called to change Mr. Dickie Trump from the naughty list to the nice list, he was about early 50s, silver fox face, if you will. And at this point, his mother, Martha Trump, was getting a little impatient that her golden goose of a son wasn't settling down and providing her any heirs for their Trump throne. You know, there was a long line of famous Trumps. It wasn't just Dickie who was famous. His father was an actor. He was in film and he directed movies and he took over Hollywood. Dickie didn't want to go that route. He wanted to tell the world the truth. He wanted to be the meat of every story. He wanted to be the face that you saw and woke up to every single day, not just in a picture that was his way of trumping Daddy Dearest. And Daddy Dearest had the same complex with his daddy. His daddy was a business mongrel. He built up most of New York City. Put the name on the map literally by marking it on every building. And what way was his son going to outdo his father? Well, he was going to have his name on every best picture anyone saw. It wasn't just a physical thing. It was a thing people took in time. So you had his grandfather, who built a city, his father, who built a history legacy, and now the third generation of another legacy growing up and people trusting them, literally watching them their whole lives. From going to school in the morning and trying to find out what the weather is to, getting married. This person's face is there. He's the soul of America. Dickie Trump. The man you could trust, but also the wild boy you loved to talk a little dirt about. Because as much as Dickie told the truth and he fed you the news and he wasn't afraid to get in the thick of it, you saw him in the war zone. He was brave, he was entertaining, he was funny, he had charisma. He was the it guy. But he wasn't that great outside. He started to build this persona of being a little bit of a snood on set, a little demanding, a little extra, a man diva. It happens to a lot of people when success runs in. Then the money came and he started cutting his friends off. Then he just didn't have any friends. Then he started cutting most of his family off. And all he had was mean old Martha Trump, who was just as cold as her son. But if there was any affection she could muster, it was for Dickie. And she didn't have any affection for anyone else. And I feel like Dickie was very much that way. He had a lover that he loved very much, and he loved his mother, and there was no room for anyone else. It was a very inherited trait. So, as I said, we had our work cut out with us. Dickie, he had a long legacy of being raised to one up. It was all about who could put their name on the map longer and the best way. So to be raised like that, he kind of had a bad start from the get. But what the world didn't know about Dickie is Dickie had a lot of very big skeletons in his closet that needed to be surfaced. Not just for his own personal growth, but for him to be on the nice list. Because when you're in the closet, when you have secrets, what does that mean, class? You are not healed. That's correct. A+. Good job. Angel School is doing you well. All right, so before we get more into Dickie's story, I want to introduce you to a man named Billy Bogart, who If you studied this case, you know very well who Billy Bogart is to Dickie, and we'll get there. But for the rest of you who did not read this case and just skimmed, you might not exactly know who Billy Bogart is. Billy Bogart is a very big piece of the story, a piece of the story that is very much healing and very much catalytic at the same time for both Maya Monroe, who we will get to if you didn't read the case, and Dickie Trump. So Billy also has a very sad story. Unlike Dickie Trump, who grew up with money and was taught status and success and putting yourself on the map was important, Billy really didn't have anyone at all to teach him anything. You see, Billy was left at a fire station when he was a baby, and from there on he was just passed on from foster family to foster family to foster family, and these weren't good foster families. These aren't happy. I was loved in every home. It was very rare that he was even considered, that he was fed, that he had a proper schedule. I almost said Dickie. Billy very much raised himself. He was very independent from the time he could walk, as most foster kids are. All Billy ever wanted was a family. All Billy ever wanted was to be himself and be accepted for that self, which was a very vibrant, free spirit who loved music, who loved dance, who loved art, who wanted to wear pink and purple and liked a little eyeshadow. Didn't necessarily like to dress like a girl, but he liked makeup. From a very early age, Billy was shoved in a box by the world, bullied into submission, bullied into not being who he is, bullied because and beat up because he dressed differently, he acted differently, he talked differently. But Billy, the free spirit he was, no matter how hard he was broke down, no matter how much people threw at him, he never lost hope that one day, when he got big enough, when he got old enough, when he got strong enough, he would beat up that bully, that he would be himself loud and proud. He always told himself that. When I get big, I'm going to be myself loud and proud, and that's exactly who Billy Bogart was. He's a very well-known character himself. Maybe not in the story, but you might remember Billy Bogart by his YouTube channel. He covered a lot of things. He did fashion. He covered restaurants, movies, anything. It's really hard to pinpoint Billy Bogart and his likes. He was whimsical. He never really held down a job. Billy wasn't somebody who liked to stay put very long. He got very much used to the nomad style until he met Dickie Trump. Dickie and Billy were the catalyst to each other's lives. Dickie was going down a very dark path that might have shut his heart off forever had he not met Billy. And Billy might have died, literally died on the street without anyone in the world noticing except us angels, had Dickie never stumbled into that alley that night. And I'm getting ahead of myself again, but this is what you need to pay attention to in the details of your case. My subject was Dickie Trump and Maya Monroe. Billy Bogart was not in that report at all. In my field work, I did my investigation and realized who Billy was to Dickie, and then added him in. This is what you're going to find in your cases. There's always more to the story. There's layers, and until you figure out those layers and what each person is in that layer, you can't help your subject. And this is what I missed, and why I struck out through a lot of the beginning of trying to help Dickie. Because I was under the impression, like most people, that he was heartbroken by his long-lost love, Maya Monroe, who 10 years prior, they had a love affair that splashed all over the tabloids. They were the world it couple. Maya Monroe was the counterpart to Dickie Monroe. Dickie Monroe was the news reporter. He told the news, he told you the truth, he was the morning guy, and Maya Monroe was on every red carpet event, talking to every A-list celebrity. She wore the best dresses. Every girl wanted to be her. She co-hosted and did projects. Like, she had her own thing going. They were both powerhouses on two different spectrums of the news, but they were both public faces, and the world liked them together. Society liked them together. Most importantly, Martha Trump loved them together. She pushed her son, and to give him credit, Dickie and Maya really did have a genuine love interest. Dickie never really fell fully in love for Maya, but he did respect her. He did have a genuine friendship. He did confide in her the truth about his mother and how he feels, that he can't be himself, and she always had this plan for his life, and he's just to go along with it, and he never gets a say, and she holds his money, and he has to keep her favor to have the lifestyle. Like, to everybody else, Dickie made his own money and he earned everything he had. And yes, he has a lot of money, but for the lifestyle he lives, he couldn't afford it on his own. He's old money. He comes from many generations of money. He's used to a certain quality of life that he can't provide on his own. So Martha provides him with the majority of his living expenses. So basically, all of Dickie's life, he's felt, I'm not going to sugar it, but he had to kiss his mom's booty to keep his life. So he got used to playing a part. For the first time in his life, he could take that mask off and stop playing a part with Maya. And now that we're getting into Maya's story, we'll get back to Billy in a minute. Maya Monroe, she, unlike Dickie, who comes from a long line of success and a very cold family, Maya comes from a long line of little success. I wouldn't say no success, because they have moderate lives. They own small town restaurants. I wouldn't say they're poor. They have nice upbringings. They have many siblings. She's of Spanish descent. She grew up with 4 other siblings. She had a bunch of first cousins. She was very close to her aunts and uncles, and a very community rich in her heritage. She had roots. She was loved. She was pampered and protected and allowed to be herself. And I think overly so, in the sense that it made Maya a little bit entitled. So when starting her case, unlike Dickie, who was very cold-hearted, and I had to teach him how to love and proper love at all, Maya is somebody who was overly loved, and I had to bring a little bit back down to earth. Typical diva, spoiled, pampered princess. She wanted fame, she wanted success, she chased it. She cared very much about her body, she worked hard for it, but she stepped on a lot of people's throats. She spread a lot of gossip to make other people look bad and to make herself look good. She was not a good person to get where she was. And Dickie also cut corners to get where he was. He cut people off, stole their stories. So each of them had that element of, I want power and success, and they were willing to do anything to get it, and that's what drove their relationship. That's what drove the love, and that's what made them think they were in love with each other. Maya saw the life she wanted with Dickie, and Dickie saw the cover he could have with Maya, because we're getting back to Billy. This is the meat of the story, which nobody knew in the report when I started, and you're going to get thrown a curveball in your case. The reason why Dickie never could connect to females, other than, I don't even think he connected with his mother, but for all of his upbringing, Dickie was raised very Catholic. His mother was very devout. His grandmother was devout. His father was devout. His grandfather was devout. You went to church every Sunday, no exceptions, every holiday. Everybody in the business world, whatever aspect, everybody came together on Sunday. It was a whole thing. And you learn in church that if you are gay, it's wrong. So all his life, Dickie was gay and telling himself no. And it wasn't until meeting Billy had he allowed himself to act on his feelings. He had never had an experience with a man. Although he had feelings and wanted to and urges, he had been fighting it. Now granted, when he met Billy, he was almost 40, pushing 40. So he had lived a very fruitful life. He had spent 10 years with Maya, having a relationship with her, trying to make it work, not connecting, and he was tired of living a lie to his mother, to Maya, and he couldn't afford to, give up the lie to his mother, so he had to give up the lie to Maya, who at this point, they've been together a decade. She's pretty much planning their wedding, thinking any day he's going to propose. Meanwhile, after a big story, it was a random meet cute moment. He had met Billy in a bar after work. None of his colleagues were around. He was able to be himself. One thing led to another. They got talking, they got drunk, they hooked up in the bathroom. They went through this whole thing for like a month of, we're not together, you can't tell anyone, and then it went into a full-blown secret relationship for a good 6 months before Dickie was ready to really end his beard with Maya, because at that point, that's what Maya was. It was a shield to his mother to hide his relationship with Billy. But he derailed the course in his own progress by introducing Billy as a co-worker, business partner, friend, confidant. His mother didn't think anything of it. She was happy that he had someone to travel with and spend time with, because he was alone all the time, and people, said that Billy brought him out of his shell. When Billy was in her presence, he played a part. He was an artist. But, slowly and surely, news got out that he was a little eccentric, so Dickie over time still had to date the women and keep up the playboy image to not allow his mother to see the truth of who Billy was. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to Maya before we get any further in the story. So remember what I said, Maya Monroe, she was, dating Dickie almost a decade at this point, thinking they're a power couple. She's not really in love with Dickie either. She's in love with the life she wants with him. She's very much about money. She's very much about looks. Now, Maya is also going through a very difficult time at this period, and why she's also one of my clients in this case. At this point, Maya is also pushing 40. She stepped on a few toes in the industry, and because of it, she burned some bridges. She also pissed off a lot of celebrities. Certain celebrities don't want to work for her anymore. She's getting less coverage. Her name's getting out there less and less. People don't really like her. She's not rating well. So basically, the network is hitting her. The day that Dickie breaks up with her, and he did it very coldly in a dinner. It was like a business dinner, like, look, I think this is drying out. I think we both are feeling it. I'm not in love with you. You're not in love with me. Just very emotionless. But as she's sitting through that, earlier that day, she had to sit through her boss pretty much telling her she's getting old, she's irrelevant. Not in those words. A nice way of saying it, a Hollywood of saying it. You're tired, you're old, you piss too many people off. Basically, if you can put yourself on the map and re-energize yourself and give yourself a new spin before your contract's up, then we'll keep you. If not, your contract's up in 2 months and we're cutting you. So she gets bad news about her career, and then she gets dumped. But it's not just it. That wasn't the only bad blow. Here she is like, okay, I lost Dickie, I'm losing my job. Well, I can't do anything about Dickie, so now I'm going to throw myself into work. I need to come up with something that's going to, in her mind, this is her mind, put me on the map. She just thinks if she could just get a juicy story, if she could look hot while she's saying it, that would be enough. She has very shallow mindset at this point in her progression. So, again, in comes Billy Bogart, who is a catalyst to Maya's growth and her whole turning to the dark side. So, you have Maya, who just got dumped. at a horrible dinner, and earlier that day she just found out she's pretty much getting dumped by her network. She has had enough. She doesn't want to be around anyone she knows. She doesn't go around anywhere that she could run into anyone. She wants to be alone, and she wants to get drunk. So she stumbles into the first hole-in-the-wall bar, which happens to be a gay bar. And who does she stumble into? Who is also 3 sheets to the wind and just had enough of his own situation, but Billy Bogart. So now we have this... That's my cat. Unforeseen Billy Bogart that was never in my report, who is attached to Dickie Trump as a secret lover that I was not aware of, now also interfering with client number 2. And this wasn't in the report. Coming up, this conversation was a total speed bump. I did not know what to do, and this is the part where you're going to have to rely on your angel toolbox to get you through it, like me. This is how I pulled a rabbit out of my hat. Pay attention, class. So, you have Billy Bogart, 3 sheets to the wind. The place is crowded. He sees this woman come in. It's raining. She's looking sad and frazzled. And he's, oh, honey, you look like you've had a day. Come and have this empty seat. And she sees a nice warm face. And she truly has a day. And she just wants to get drunk and cry. And here is this warm, affectionate soul, and so she does. She sits at the table, and he's drunk and rambling, and she's not listening. She's ordering to drink because, let's remember, Maya only cares about herself. And all she heard was, oh, there's a free seat, and there's someone who's going to cry for me. You know, I could cry too. The little known fact is, he's going to cry to you, not the other way around. So, cut to... the couple drinks go by, a couple shots, and she starts actually listening to this Billy Bogart, and she's confiding, and she's like, I just got dumped. You know, I've spent 10 years with this man. And Billy said, I've spent 10 years with my man, too, and I've had to be in secret because he doesn't want the world to know that he's gay. Because God forbid people wake up and see him on the news every day and know that he's 100% gay. It just comes flying out of his mouth. And so, red flags to Maya, who just got dumped by somebody who's on the news every single day, starts asking some questions, puts 2 and 2 together, and figures out, oh my God, what I thought was going to be my fiance is leaving me for a man, and the whole world's going to find out. Oh, no, this is not going to happen to me. And then, oh, it clicks. This is the juicy story that could put me on the map. I'm the poor innocent victim who got dumped because he's gay and I didn't know it. I could play the victim card, put myself on the map. You know, not a good attitude, but this is where she was thinking. So unknowingly, Billy didn't know who Maya was. Being who he was in the YouTube world, he doesn't have time for TV. Billy is very much a hippie. He probably saw her face somewhere in the tabloids, but this Billy very much tried to avoid every part of Dickie's fake life because it was hurtful. He was his real love. He was the one home with him every night. He isn't going to go to the store and look through tabloids of all these women that he he heard her name, he heard her story, but he doesn't know her. And she just said her name is Maya. There's a million Mayas. So at the bar, he's not thinking, oh my God, this is the Maya Monroe that he's having a fake relationship with. So the mistaken identity gives Maya a loaded gun. So this kicks off the war between my 2 clients who were going in their own directions, who I was just supposed to help because I was in the area and I was going to help 2 of them heal and go along their journey, has now come crashing into a war together. So now my case is just blown the F up, and I got 2 weeks to Christmas at this point, and I am sweating bullets. What am I going to do? You got Maya Monroe, who's out for Dickie Trump's blood. And you got Dickie Trump, who has no idea what just happened. And then Billy, who's just fed up with this whole situation. I need to reel back into Billy's story for you to get the full picture before I go on. So, we have Maya with the day of, her network, like, we're dropping you. Gets dumped by who she thinks is a straight man, turns out is gay, and didn't know it for 10 years. I mean, I'm sure that would be hurtful for anyone. Billy, remember, the same amount of time that Dickie has been with Maya, Dickie has also been with Billy. Pretty much, give and take of maybe 4 years difference. So 6 years, him and Billy have been secretly having this thing. Billy knew what he was stepping into. He knew the part. He knew that Dickie had to play a role with Martha, that she controlled the purse strings, and the public image thought he was a pretty boy who just went through women, every night. And he was okay with that. And eventually, it became not okay. And at this point, and when he's venting to the, he had already had discussion after discussion after discussion with Dickie about being unhappy, about wanting to, it was illegal for them to get married in their state. He wanted to make it official. He didn't want to be a secret. He wanted Dickie to own who he was. Like, listen, you're 50 years old. It's time to be who you are. Tell your stuffy old mom and your stuffy old church what's what. Like, can't we just have our lives together and be ourselves? Because remember what I said about Billy. All he ever wanted to be was to have a family of his own and be accepted for exactly who he was. How could he be accepted for exactly who he was if he couldn't be a husband to the man he wanted to be a husband to and couldn't have the family he wanted to have? All his dreams were riding on Dickie, and he was just fed up and he was hurt, and he never thought that the words would ever come out of his mouth, but by that confession to Maya and his Uber ride home and coming in, he just put his foot down and he laid it out on Dickie and he said, look, I'm a good person. I would be a good husband to any man. I deserve this life. I'm not going to live in your shadow anymore because you're not man enough to stand up to mommy dearest, pretty much. It was a bit cold, but ultimately said, either make this official, marry me, let's do this, or I'm walking out that door and I'm not coming back. Of course, Dickie panics. He's not ready, to out himself to even himself, let alone his mother in the world. So, of course, they have Dickie that moment of like, please don't go, Billy. Like, I need you. I love you. Like, this is really devastating. Dickie loves Billy. He does want to marry Billy. He would marry Billy in a second, but he's so attached to life and what he thinks it's supposed to be and religion, and he's having all this inner turmoil. And Billy is hurt and tormented because he spent his life, the last decade of his life, loving and being true and really wanting something, and he knows the truth of Dickie. He knows that he loves him, and he knows the torment about the faith, but at the same time he knows his worth. So you have two very broken hearts, and then an even more broken heart when Maya's true chunk of the story also fell out that night. Another piece of the case that was not added in for me. Another ad-lib, a curveball, if you will, that hit me right in the dome piece. You see, in the first year of Maya and Dickie's relationship, when it was hot and heavy, and they genuinely pretty much had as close to love as they could get feelings, when the sex was genuinely passionate, Maya got pregnant. And at this time, her career was amazing. She was getting all these jobs. Their relationship was fresh. She just, didn't want to deal with it. And so, without telling Dickie, without really giving it much thought, she went and got an abortion. And she lived to regret it. From the moment it happened, this is kind of what made her grow cold in the relationship. She stopped putting love in with Dickie. She focused more on work. She started spending more time at work, taking more jobs away from work, which Dickie kind of liked because, you know, he never really felt content in the relationship and he had his own work. That was the catalyst of Maya at that moment when she decided to have that abortion, and the regret is when she stopped loving altogether. And I thought it was when Dickie broke up with her at that dinner. No. I think she ultimately agreed with what Dickie said at that dinner. They didn't really genuinely love each other. She didn't even genuinely have loving feelings for anyone, even her own family she grew up with. She is very much a very cold person. She really didn't care much for Dickie as a person. She just wanted him as an arm piece, as a life prop, especially with her life crumbling. Even though they were the it couple and they were kind of like old news, they thought, in her mind, she thought that a wedding could spruce that up and give them another level of fame. So she was more disturbed about the plans. But to then find out that he was gay and that she had made this horrible decision and carried it, you know, I just feel like it was vinegar in the wound for her. All of this was never in the report. And I hope that your case is a lot easier. But this is how I got through it. So, in my scenario and helping, I had to infringe myself in their lives. So, me, Noelle Angel, on Earth, I took the job as Maya's cameraman for her project that she was trying to do on her own with her own funds, which was her investigation against Dickie, which would help me keep her from exposing him as much as I could and help sway her to change her mind and also bring her and Dickie together. So I took a job on Earth, technically, and she did not make it easy. I was the coffee runner, the emotional and physical punching bag. I experienced the horrible experience it is to work around Maya, and I understood why she needed an angel, and I got to see it from the human perspective. Maya couldn't control her world. Everything about her life was falling apart. She couldn't forgive herself for what she'd done. She felt she needed punishment. She thought being cold was what she deserved for the decision she made. And like Dickie, she grew up in a very religious upbringing. That abortion decision in her eyes cost her her soul. In her mind, she committed murder, and she didn't deserve things, even though at the same time she deserved things, and she was a narcissist. It was like a double-edged sword. You couldn't ever please her. She couldn't ever get herself to forgive herself. So it was like a bumping wall, and this war, and this, I'm gonna expose Dickie for being gay, and I'm gonna expose him before he can make an embarrassment out of me. You know, it was just something to put her energy into and something to control. But she didn't want to make it easy. She wanted to glorify the moment. So she pretty much followed Billy around for a while, got video and photo evidence of what he was doing. Granted, at this time, Billy and Dickie were separated, so she saw Billy as very single and was very confused by this. She thought maybe she had gotten it wrong, and I was like, this is my moment to put us back on track. But then she found out about Billy's past. You know, she has a lot of contacts in her world. And unfortunately, Billy wasn't always a good person. Growing up the way he did fall into drugs. He fell into a little bit of prostitution. He fell into a little bit of the gang crowd. And in that moment of trying to fit in and find a family with a gang, he had to be initiated into this gang, and it required him to beat someone up. So he went for the one person that had tormented him the most and calling him a faggot and picking on him, which was this old man at a store clerk, and he thought it would be easy, that he would just have to like kick him a few times, he didn't want to hurt anyone, but he also was very angry at this man. Turns out the man was an old Marine, kind of kicked the crap out of Billy, but in the meantime, in all of this, the old man broke his hip, not from what Billy did, but from his own slip. Anyway, the man had money, owning the store, he had status. The word got out that old man got beat up by a gang member. It pretty much made Billy unhireable, which is why Dickie took him under his wing and just allows him, Dickie's his sugar daddy, although his YouTube channel does pretty well. Billy got used to the lifestyle as well. And Dickie did everything he could to bury this and make sure nobody found out about it, and it was very hard for Maya to find out about this. She had a friend that really owed her big and called in that favor, and so now she has the person that in her mind was cheating with her man is now also a horrible person, drug addict. So she's thinking, oh my God, he's brainwashing Dickie. He's just after the money. I need to go to Dickie with this. Dickie doesn't know about Billy and his past. So she goes to Dickie and she says, listen, I know you're gay. I don't care. I will be your beard. We can fake get married. We can have this life. You can have your life. But you need to know something about Billy. She couldn't be content with Dickie and Billy being together. She wanted control back. So she offered the one thing she knew Dickie would take, because it would give him the permanent beard with his mother, permanent access to the money bag. He wouldn't have to continue to pick up dates. He could make a deal with Billy and say, look, I'm making a deal with this bitch. We're going to fake get married. It'll stop everything. She doesn't care. She knows about us. You don't have to hide. We can have parties, all three of us together. We can have an open relationship, whatever. He could talk Billy into it. So, of course, Dickie's like, oh my God, I'm so thankful that you know and you understand. Really, honestly thinking Maya is kind of being a friend, because remember what I said? They had this strong friendship before the sex got involved, and, as much as they could love and respect each other, they did. So he's like, look, Maya, I'm really sorry about what happened. And he tells her the truth about how he met Billy the few days and how he was confused and how he lived this whole life and he never even touched a man before and he didn't know how to tell her. And Maya wanted to be angry, but I think the best part of my case was her hearing it from his side in a moment where she could not make it about herself, and that was the Christmas miracle. And that's what will happen to you in your case when we need a little help, because sometimes the curveballs come, and as good as an angel as you are, you need that divine bing, let me help you. And that was definitely a moment by Maya, hearing what it was like to grow up. She sat in the same church. She heard the same stuff, about Catholics and being gay. And I think it did something in her heart when he said that he had never been with another man before. And in her mind, she had thought he had always been gay and been lying. So her understanding that that was the very first experience for him, I think, rekindled the friendship. She was still out for fame though, but this is when the vengeance part of it died. Still, the greed and both of them was winning. So you had Maya, who was like, let's flip it then. Why don't, like she said, we get married, we take the power back, you two can have your relationship, I won't out you. When your mother passes away, I will divorce you for a large sum of money, and you'll get me a job at your network. She's desperate at this point. So Dickie's like, you know what? I can accept those terms. So the two of them are like, listen, I need to get Billy back. I'm in love with Billy. He wants to get married and have this extravagant life, blah, 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 blah. Maya's like, well, why don't we do a TV wedding? And then when the TV crew all leave, you two really get married. Just trying to feed him straws. And So this is when the Christmas twist, if you will, happened in the case. So now you had Maya, who was over in her corner like, I'm going to make him pay working on my investigation. Is now working hard on a spin story of how they turned it around and they're getting married and the love is there and how are they going to feed it to the press and her network is going to be eating out of her hand and her mind's going. And then you have Dickie like, this is going to be great, I can send Mom to Europe, she'll think I'm married, I don't have to see her but once a year, me and Billy will have free reign, because they do have an underground gay tribe who knows the truth about them, private elite people who sign waivers that won't tell, that come to their events. So they can be themselves in their own home, they just can't go to a bar. So like in his mind, he's thinking that's enough for Billy. In comes Maya to Billy. So this time, she didn't stumble into the hole in the wall on accident. She stumbled in on purpose. She told Billy who she actually was. She told the truth that on the night, she didn't know who he was, but it ended up turning into this whole thing. She told him about the past with Dickie. She told him about the abortion, which she had not yet told to Dickie. She swore Billy to secrecy, but something in Maya was able to connect with Billy and trust. And Billy, as much as he respected her and he loved Dickie, amen. For Billy stuck his ground and said, no, I am no longer living a lie. My whole life has been someone else's lie, who my parents were, why I ended up on a fireman's door, like going through all the foster homes, like having to pretend to be a normal kid. I'm done pretending. Like all I want to do is be myself and have a lover who is okay to be themselves. I don't want to be a beer. I don't want to have to wait for you to fake marry. Like I want, and Maya, did everything that she was willing to do to save Billy and Dickie, because at the end of the day, if Billy went away, it was just going to be easier for her to get what she wants. She's like, okay, Billy, you're a smart man. I think you should stick to your guns. This is when the little devil comes back out. And instead of being persuasive, she's now flipping the script and feeding Billy like, you look great, you have all these men after you, you're living in your apartment, you have your freedom, like, you don't have to live by Dickie's rules and standards anymore. And Billy's like, yeah, I'm free, I can find someone. Which Dickie is confused because he's thinking Maya's helping him. He's calling Billy every day. He's sending him gifts like, please, like, we can make this work, I love you, like grand gestures. He's got money, so you can imagine the things. Now we're down to 4 days to Christmas and I'm sweating bullets because you got Maya still scheming, trying to fake marry Dickie. Dickie's still scheming and fake marrying and wanting to lie. They're not learning any lessons. I'm going to fail my first mission. That's my thoughts. 4 days to Christmas. What the fuck am I going to do? Yes, angels swear in these moments. It's intense. But I remembered my training, and I took a deep breath, and I remembered the root of it all and why I was here. That little baby that she took her life, or in her mind thought she took her life, didn't really take her life at all, because that little take was me, Noelle number 3. And it was what created this angel to come to the earth to teach them a lesson. Because angels never had life on earth. My life was taken, but God said, oh no, I have things for you to do, little angel. You need to go back down and help your parents. And so I did. And I knew at this moment it was time to tell Maya the truth and who I really was. And this is going to happen in every case. At some point, you're going to be like, surprise, I'm an angel. It's a must. And it will happen at the closing of your duties together, but not at the tail end. You'll know when it's right. You'll feel it. And I felt it. In that moment of Maya, in her mind, going a million miles, planning weddings, walking around, I just said the 3 words that she said to me when it happened. I don't like to talk about this moment because there's a lot of souls on earth that think of it as murder, but everything is a plan. Had she not made that decision, I wouldn't be an angel. I wouldn't be Noel number 3. Around centuries, helping everybody at Christmas time. I had a purpose, it just wasn't on earth, and it wasn't meant to be born. Doesn't mean it was right, wrong, and different, and this is what I had to make clear to Maya. By saying the 3 words, she said, "Please forgive me." And I said, "I do." And at first, she gave me that blank stare of, okay, well, please forgive me for what? What have you done, little peon? Because remember, I'm her assistant at this point. And when you're ready to tell them the truth, you need to pull out the parlor tricks. Of course, I pulled out the glow, the classic. Just go to that one. It's the least scary. They won't run. If you try to go full angel with your wings out, they get a little intimidated. So just do the light glow with the soft music, just like they would picture in a movie. And her eyes got very big. And I said, "I'm the baby that you thought you got rid of." And I told her the truth, what I told you, that my purpose was never to be on earth, that I'm a Christmas angel. I come down to earth for the Christmas season. I get 1 season to help a soul every year, and then I go up and I have my peace until it's time for Jesus' birthday again. This is how I choose to celebrate. This is what my purpose is. And it freed her. It let the river of her heart finally open. And it's true, when people have been cold for so long, it's almost like when you haven't drank for a long time and you take a shot of whiskey and you feel that heat coming down your throat and into your lungs, that slow burn sometimes. That was her reawakening and realizing the truth of everything and every decision she's made since, and realizing that she was never happy being an entertainment reporter and reporting about movies and other people's success. She grew up wanting to be a writer, and she was a talented writer. And before, she was desperate and saw an ad in a paper and discovered that, hey, she was pretty good at TV and delivering other stories, she forgot about her love for writing. And learning my story and who I was for 13 straight hours, she sat at her computer and she just wrote. And she wrote and she wrote and she wrote. And in that moment, she realized in 2 months when her contract closed, she was free. She had enough money and enough success to go home and sit there for a while and write a book. And finally, the world went still, and she had a plan, and she had a purpose, and something to make her smile. And it wasn't about love, and it wasn't about other people's standards, and she wasn't attached to loss. She just had a story to tell, and she wanted to tell it, and that was her focus. But then she paused. And for the first time in Maya's life, before probably the age 10, she thought about someone else. And she thought about what their future would look like if they were this free. And instead of scheming for her own success and scheming to put herself on the map, she went back to Dickie. And she said, "Dickie, you need to tell your story. You need to tell your truth. You need to take your power back as a grown-ass man, and you need to look the world in the face and say, I am gay and I love Billy, and you need to go get your man, and I think that you should do it with me. And I'm going to retire. I'm going out in a bang, but I would really love that if the story I last tell to the entertainment world would be your truth, and to do it in your authentic way with your voice, because I found out about it. And I was pretty heartless and ruthless, and someone else is going to find out about it. And they're going to do it in a very horrible way, and I don't want that to happen to you. And in this moment, this was also Dickie's melting. And she told Dickie the truth. She told the story about the abortion, and she told the story about who I was. And in that moment, miracle number 2, because I have 2 clients, and I had to expose myself as the angel again, same, because I just felt right about that in this aspect. You will know what way to expose yourself in the moment, but this is how I did. And I had a moment with my parents, and this is why this was my first case. I had to go through angel school. It took 10 human years for me to age in heaven to come back to help my parents. And that was what my purpose was. And by them hearing my story and what I wanted to do, and by Maya really wanting to give him an outlet, and by Dickie really seeing how trapped he was and how much control he allowed other people to have, and that by his own child being of God and accepting him for what he was, why couldn't he face his mother, and why couldn't he face his church? If he could face an angel and be who he was and be loved and accepted for who he was, then the world would be damned. His fear of being exposed depleted in that moment, because he learned the truth and he connected to his faith that love is never wrong, that love always guides you. Your heart is a compass, and it guides you who you're supposed to be with. And if you listen to it and you follow it, then you find your true path. Like Maya found her true path with writing. Like Dickie found his true path of, I need to tell my story because I want to be free. And so the 2 of them, from scheming in very dark, horrible ways, were scheming for very light and beautiful ways. And it made my heart soar to watch my parents working together in genuine love, more love than when they actually made me in the first place. But that's besides the point. I see the beauty in all things. We just had one more heart to heal, and that was Billy, who the whole world turned their back on Billy. And I told the story to both of them in a way that Billy couldn't even express, because I showed them young Billy as an angel. We're able to just be like, here's a reel of Billy's life if we want to. And I played some moments. And in those moments, they both fell in love with Billy. Not in a loving sexual way for Maya, but as a kinship. Maya, who couldn't accept her own giant family, found a very small family, in Dickie and Billy. And when Maya and Dickie came forward on the news, Billy was at work on his little laptop at home. He had his favorite channel on. Phone blowing up. Billy, check channel, Billy, check. And he's ignoring it because the work's going off. Finally, his neighbor comes. Billy, Billy. So he opens him up. Doesn't even say hi. Walks right past Billy and turns on the TV. What does Billy see? Dickie and Maya standing together, and he's like, oh my God, I don't want to see this, thinking it's the engagement, he's like, you need to listen, my friend, listen. And so for the first time, he listens, and he hears Dickie say, I didn't know I was gay until I met the love of my life. And then he said his name, Billy Bogart, and Billy's heart just fell in his chest, and he had his own angel moment. Not that I revealed myself to Billy, I didn't. Billy never saw me as an angel, only my parents did. But all the love he had been denied his whole life, all he ever wanted was a family and to be loved and to belong. And he was loved and he belonged in that moment, and his life was filled and tears were running down his face, and he grabbed his coat, and in true classic movie form, we never get sick of this, do we? He comes running down the stairs. I'm not even stopping for the damn elevator. I'm just gonna go running down 5 flights of stairs, out the door, snowing, didn't even button his coat. Snow is falling in a pretty... I might have added a little effects because I got the flair for the dramatics. I might have made it a little snow globy. Those fat, droopy flakes. He's running, his red scarf's blowing in the wind, just desperate. Black after black after black. The sweat is pouring. His lungs are screaming, but he's not stopping. Charge! Open the door. Get out of my way to Maya's building. Up another flight of stairs. Through the security guard. Get out of my way. Now, Billy's not normally an aggressive person, but he's also a dancer. So he's doing all these adorable spins to get by security, which, to me, I slowed down and replayed in my mind a couple times because, angel abilities. I love humans. I don't see this stuff coming. I can only make the snow globy stuff. I can't add the extra pizzazz. That was all Billy. Good job, Billy. I loved it. It was one of my favorite cases, if you couldn't tell. Not just because of my parents, but because of the Christmas magic. But anyway, there he is, breathless, sweating. Dickie is just finishing taking off his mic, and he looks up and he sees Billy. And his eyes are going, Billy, I'm so sorry. I love you. You know the moment. You know it. Just... and the hug and the kiss and the Maya's like this, and everyone in the room is like this, and they're still recording it on TV because they want the world to see the adorableness, and they're loving. And then Dickie gets down on his knee and he takes out a box and he opens and he's, Billy, don't ever leave me again. Billy's like, I will never. Happy ever after. I didn't want to make it too cheese, but like I said, I like the dramatics. My case was a success. I got a proposal I didn't see coming. I didn't even know that Dickie had that ring in the pocket. That was my Christmas present from Jesus for being a Christmas angel. And this is why I do my job. I love the snow globe moments, and I love Billy's twirls, and I love the moment that Dickie's eyes met Billy's eyes in that moment in the room. Just the... That's me in the background. That is why I am a Christmas angel. And I'm not sorry I was aborted. I will say it. And I hope that every single one of you have a case like this at some point that really shows you the true meaning and the magic. Not that we forget as angels. But it's like a gift. Every once in a while for those beautiful twirls and those eye locks. And the melting, that whiskey moment of, I love it. This is what I live for, people. So until next year, and congratulations, cadets, on your upcoming graduation. I have all the faith in you. I know you will go forth and prosper and crush your Christmas spirit way more than I did on my first case. You got this. And if you ever need any help, all you got to do is look up and say, help me, please. I was going to say, help me, baby Jesus, but he's grown now. I think it's probably offensive that we call him baby Jesus. But isn't he cute when he's in his little manger? Sorry, Jesus. Love you all. Until next time, toodles. Just kidding, guys. I'm not really an angel. If you skipped the beginning, this was just a story. I gotta put a disclaimer in there. This is not real. Merry Christmas. Until next week, I'll see you all next time. Make sure you let me know if you like this one by hitting the thumbs up, talking to me in the comments. How'd I do? Was it boring? Feedback, please. And thank you to all my subscribers for accepting these kooky little projects that I do, because sometimes they're out there and you just roll with it, and I love you for that. Thank you. Bye, guys. Love you.